If you enjoy this story, please hit that subscribe button for more incredible true stories like this one. My name is Harper Wells, and I'm 26 years old. This is the story of how my father's rejection became the catalyst for the most beautiful day of my life. I need to start by explaining my family. My parents divorced when I was 8. It was messy, bitter, and left scars on everyone involved. My father, Richard, remarried quickly, within a year, to a woman named Diane. She had 2 daughters from a previous marriage, Madison and Chloe. They were 10 and 12 when Richard married Diane. I was 9. From the beginning, it was clear where my father's priorities lay. He moved into Diane's house in the suburbs, a place that never felt like home to me. My room there was the smallest, barely big enough for a twin bed and dresser. Madison and Chloe had spacious rooms with walk-in closets. When I asked why, Diane said it was because they'd lived there longer and needed more space. Dad nodded along, agreeing with whatever she said. Weekends at Dad's house became exercises in feeling like an outsider. Diane would make elaborate breakfasts for Madison and Chloe, pancakes shaped like animals, fresh fruit, fancy juices. I'd get cereal. When I pointed this out once, Dad told me I was being ungrateful, that Diane was doing her best and I should appreciate her efforts. I stopped pointing things out after that. I learned to stay quiet, make myself small, and count down the hours until Mom picked me up on Sunday evenings. Mom, meanwhile, worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. She couldn't afford the lawyers Dad could during the divorce. She got me every other weekend and Wednesday nights. It wasn't enough time, but she made every moment count. As I grew older, the disparity became more obvious. When Madison wanted to join competitive cheerleading, Dad paid the $5,000 annual fee without blinking. When I asked if I could take art classes $75 a month, he said it was too expensive. When Chloe turned 16, Dad bought her a car. An actual new car. When I turned 16, he gave me a card with $50 and said I should save up for a car myself. I worked part-time at a grocery store throughout high school, saving every penny. By graduation, I had enough for a beat-up Honda that barely ran. Dad didn't contribute a single dollar. Meanwhile, he'd already started a college fund for Madison and Chloe. When I asked if he'd help with my college expenses, he said, "Your mother has custody. That's her responsibility." It stung, but I wasn't surprised. I'd learned not to expect anything from him. I got scholarships, worked through college, and took out loans for what scholarships didn't cover. I graduated with a degree in graphic design and $40,000 in debt. Madison and Chloe? They graduated from private universities debt-free, with Dad paying every cent. I tried not to be bitter. I really did. But watching your father give everything to his stepdaughters while giving you scraps, it leaves a mark. Still, I maintained a relationship with him. Strained, surface level, but I showed up for holidays and birthday dinners. I kept trying because he was my father, because I hoped one day he'd see me as worthy of his love and support. That hope died when I got engaged. I met Ethan 3 years ago at a coffee shop. He was kind, funny, and worked as a high school teacher. We fell in love slowly, naturally. He proposed on a beach at sunset, and I said yes, without hesitation. Ethan was everything I'd ever wanted, stable, loving, supportive. The opposite of the instability I'd known growing up. We started planning the wedding immediately. Ethan's parents, Carol and Tom, were wonderful. They welcomed me into their family with open arms, treating me like the daughter they never had. When we discussed wedding plans, they immediately offered to help financially. "We know weddings are expensive," Carol said over dinner one night. "We've been saving for this. We want to contribute." I was overwhelmed by their generosity. They offered $15,000, a significant portion of what we needed. Ethan and I would cover the rest with our savings. The budget was tight, but manageable. We'd have a beautiful, modest wedding. That's when I made the mistake of telling my father. I called him one evening, excited to share the news. "Dad, I'm engaged. Ethan proposed last weekend." There was a pause. Then, "That's great, honey. Congratulations." His tone was flat, unenthusiastic. But I pushed forward. We're starting to plan the wedding. It'll be next June. I wanted to ask if you'd walk me down the aisle. Another pause. Longer this time. I'll have to check my schedule. Check his schedule? For his daughter's wedding that was a year away? But I swallowed my hurt. Okay, let me know. I decided to visit him in person the following weekend. Face to face, he wouldn't be able to brush me off so easily. I was wrong. I drove to Dad's house on Saturday afternoon. Diane answered the door, her smile tight and fake as always. Harper, we weren't expecting you. I said I'd texted Dad that I was coming. She claimed she didn't know but let me in. Dad was in his study, reading. He looked up when I knocked, his expression neutral. Harper, what brings you by? I sat down uninvited. I wanted to talk about the wedding. About you walking me down the aisle. He set down his book.
Right, about that.
My stomach sank at his tone. He continued, Harper, I need to be honest with you. I can't contribute financially to your wedding. I hadn't even asked him to. That's okay, Dad. Ethan's parents are helping, and we've got most of it covered. I just want you to walk me down, he interrupted. And I'm not sure I can commit to walking you down the aisle. I felt like I'd been slapped. What? Why not? He shifted uncomfortably. It's complicated. Diane and I have been discussing it. We're planning Madison's wedding next year too, and we're putting all our resources into that. It wouldn't be fair to Madison if I participated in your wedding and gave it the same attention I'm giving hers. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're saying you won't walk me down the aisle because you're busy with Madison's wedding? He had the decency to look slightly ashamed. It's not just that. Diane thinks it might be awkward. You know, with your mother there. It could cause tension. I stood up, shaking. So you're choosing Diane's comfort and Madison's wedding over your own daughter? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. I left without another word. I cried the entire drive home. When I got to the apartment I shared with Ethan, I collapsed on the couch and told him everything. He held me while I sobbed, his jaw clenched with anger. He said, What? He's refusing to walk you down the aisle because of his stepdaughter's wedding and his wife's feelings. I nodded, unable to speak. Ethan was furious. Harper, that's unacceptable. You deserve better. You've always deserved better from him. I knew he was right, but knowing didn't make it hurt less. That night I called my mom. She listened quietly as I recounted the conversation. When I finished, she was silent for a long moment. Then she said something that changed everything. Harper, you don't need him. You never did. You've built a life without his support. Why should your wedding be any different? She continued, Let me walk you down the aisle. Or Ethan's father. Or your Uncle Mike. There are people in your life who've actually been there for you. Choose one of them. The idea had never occurred to me. I'd been so focused on wanting my father's approval that I hadn't considered alternatives. But Mom was right. Why was I begging for scraps from someone who'd given me nothing? The next day, I called Dad one more time. I needed to hear him say it clearly. Dad, I need you to be direct with me. Are you willing to walk me down the aisle? Yes or no? He hesitated. Harper, I don't think it's a good idea. For the reasons I mentioned. I hope you understand. I said, I understand perfectly. Don't worry about attending at all. You're not invited. Then I hung up. After that conversation, I blocked my father's number. He tried reaching out through social media, through Diane, even through distant relatives. I ignored all of it. I was done begging for his love. Ethan supported my decision completely. His parents were outraged on my behalf. Carol actually cried when I told her what happened. How could he do that to you? She kept saying. Tom, normally mild-mannered, said some choice words about my father that I won't repeat here. They both immediately offered more support, financial and emotional. But more than that, Tom made an offer that moved me to tears. Harper, I know I'm not your father, but I'd be honored to walk you down the aisle if you'd let me. I hugged him, crying again. I'd love that. My Uncle Mike, my mom's brother, also offered. He'd been like a father to me growing up, showing up to school plays and art shows when Dad was too busy with his new family. In the end, I decided both Tom and Mike would walk me down the aisle together. One on each side. representing the family that had actually chosen me. Wedding planning continued. Without the stress of dealing with my father, it was actually fun. Mom and Carol became close, bonding over color schemes and flower arrangements. Ethan and I made decisions together, keeping the wedding intimate and personal. We invited 120 people. Close friends, family who mattered. Everyone except my father, Diane, and my stepsisters. I heard through relatives that Dad was upset about not being invited, that he was telling people I was being immature and vindictive. I didn't care. For the first time in my life, I was putting myself first. 3 months before the wedding, Madison's wedding happened. I heard about it from relatives who were invited to both. Apparently, it was extravagant. Country club venue, designer dress, live band, open bar. Dad had spared no expense. The wedding cost over $60,000. $60,000 for his stepdaughter, while he couldn't contribute a single penny or even his presence for me. I tried not to think about it. But at night, when I couldn't sleep, the comparison haunted me. What made Madison more deserving of his love and financial support? What had I done wrong besides being born to his first wife? Ethan would find me awake, staring at the ceiling. He'd hold me and remind me that his parents loved me, that my mom loved me, that he loved me, that I was enough exactly as I was. Slowly, I started believing him. Wedding planning became therapeutic. Every decision was ours, made with love and intention. We chose a venue, a beautiful garden estate outside the city. We selected flowers, wildflowers, colorful and natural. We picked music, a string quartet for the ceremony, a DJ for the reception. We designed invitations that reflected us as a couple. Simple, elegant, personal. Carol and Tom contributed their $15,000. Mom, despite her modest means, contributed $5,000 she'd been saving. Uncle Mike paid for the rehearsal dinner. Ethan and I covered the rest. The total budget was $40,000. Modest by modern wedding standards, but ours. Fully funded by people who loved us. We didn't send an invitation to my father, but someone, I suspect a well-meaning relative, sent him details about the venue and date. I didn't know this until much later. The week before the wedding, my father called my mom. She told me about it afterward. He wanted to know if it was too late to be involved. If he could still walk you down the aisle. She told him firmly, "You had your chance, Richard. Harper has made her decisions. Respect them." He'd apparently broken down, crying, saying he'd made a mistake. That he wanted to make it right. Mom told him, "You can't make decades of neglect right with one conversation. Harper's wedding will happen without you. Deal with it." I loved my mother for that. For finally, after years of trying to keep the peace for my sake, standing up to him. The day before the wedding, we had the rehearsal dinner at a nice restaurant. Uncle Mike hosted, giving a touching speech about watching me grow up, about being proud of the woman I'd become. Tom gave a speech welcoming me into their family officially. Ethan cried. I cried. Everyone cried. It was perfect. That night, as Ethan and I lay in bed, our last night before being married, I felt peace. I don't miss him, I told Ethan. I thought I would. I thought not having my father here would ruin everything. But it doesn't, because I'm surrounded by people who actually love me. Ethan kissed my forehead. You deserve that. You always have. I fell asleep happy, excited for tomorrow. I had no idea that the next day would include an unexpected twist. One that would give me closure I didn't know I needed. My wedding day dawned clear and beautiful. June weather in full glory, sunny, warm, perfect. I got ready with my bridesmaids at the venue. Mom was there, helping me into my dress. Carol did my hair. My best friend, Jess, kept everyone laughing with stories and jokes. As I looked at myself in the mirror, hair styled, makeup done, dress fitted perfectly, I felt beautiful. More than that, I felt loved. Genuinely, unconditionally loved. You look stunning, Mom said, tears in her eyes. Carol nodded. Ethan's going to lose his mind when he sees you. The ceremony was scheduled for 4 o'clock. Guests started arriving at 3:30. I watched from a window as people filed into the garden, taking their seats. Friends from college, Ethan's relatives, my mom's side of the family, people who'd shown up for me throughout my life. At 3:45, my wedding coordinator came to get me. It's almost time. Are you ready? I was. Tom and Uncle Mike met me outside the garden entrance. Both of them looked emotional. Tom hugged me. You're a beautiful bride, Harper. I'm honored to be part of this. Uncle Mike added, your dad's an idiot for missing this. But his loss is our gain. Let's go get you married. Music started. The wedding party walked down the aisle. My bridesmaids. Ethan's groomsmen. Then it was my turn. Tom on my right. Uncle Mike on my left. Both linking arms with me. We rounded the corner to enter the garden. And that's when I saw him. My father. Standing at the back of the ceremony, watching. I stopped walking. Tom and Mike felt me freeze and looked at me concerned. Harper? You okay? I couldn't speak. I just stared at my father. He looked older than I remembered. Thinner. He was wearing a suit, standing alone, partially hidden behind a tree. Our eyes met. His were filled with tears. I felt a flash of anger. How dare he show up uninvited? How dare he try to insert himself into this day after everything? But then I felt something else. Pity. He looked broken, desperate. And I realized he'd lost me forever. And he knew it. I made a decision in that moment. I straightened my shoulders, gripped Tom and Mike's arms tighter, and walked past my father without acknowledging him. He'd made his choice. I'd made mine. We continued down the aisle. I saw Ethan at the altar, his face lighting up when he saw me. That's what mattered. Not the broken man at the back of the garden. The man waiting for me at the altar. The ceremony was beautiful. We wrote our own vows. Ethan promised to be my partner, my supporter, my home. I promised to choose him every day, to build a life of love and respect together. We cried. Our guests cried. It was everything I'd dreamed of. During the ceremony, I didn't look back at where my father stood. I kept my eyes forward. On my future. On the family I was joining. On the life I was building. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, when Ethan kissed me, when everyone cheered, I felt complete. Not because my father was there, but because he didn't matter anymore. At the reception, during cocktail hour, my mom pulled me aside. Did you see him? I nodded. He's still here. Standing outside the reception tent. He hasn't tried to come in, but he's watching. I asked how she felt about it. She said, I think he's finally realizing what he lost. And it's destroying him. I told Mom I needed a moment. I walked outside the reception tent, where my father stood near the parking area. Alone. Looking lost. He saw me approaching and straightened up, hope flashing across his face. I stopped a few feet away. Harper, he began, voice cracking. You look beautiful. The ceremony was... I held up my hand. Stop. You don't get to do this. You don't get to show up uninvited and act like a proud father. Tears ran down his face. I know I don't. But I needed to see you. To see what I've lost. I felt steel in my spine. You lost me years ago, Dad. You just didn't notice until now. He tried to speak, but I wasn't finished. You chose Diane's comfort over my wedding. You chose Madison's expensive wedding over being present at mine. You chose to be her father instead of being mine. And now you're standing here, watching from the shadows, finally seeing what your choices cost you. He was sobbing now. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize, I interrupted. You didn't realize because you didn't care to realize. I begged for your attention for 18 years. I would have settled for scraps. But you couldn't even give me that. I took a breath, steadying myself. You know what the worst part is? I don't even miss you today. I thought I would, but I don't. Because Tom walked me down that aisle, and it felt right. Uncle Mike held my arm, and it felt right. You were never supposed to be there. Because you were never really there. He looked devastated. Good. He should be. I just want to make things right, he whispered. I shook my head. You can't. It's too late. Years too late. And honestly, I don't want you to try anymore. I'm done waiting for you to be the father I needed. I'm done hoping you'll choose me. I'm building my own family now. One based on love, not obligation. I turned to walk away, then stopped. Don't come to the reception. Don't try to contact me again. Live your life with Diane and your stepdaughters. Be happy with the family you chose. But leave me out of it. I don't need you anymore. I walked back into the reception tent without looking back. My hands were shaking, adrenaline pumping through my veins. Ethan found me immediately. I saw you talking to him. Are you okay? I nodded. I am. I really am. I said what I needed to say. And now it's done. He hugged me tight. I'm proud of you. The reception was everything I hoped for. Dinner was delicious. Toasts were heartfelt. Tom and Carol's speeches made everyone cry. My mom's speech was perfect, funny, loving, proud. Uncle Mike roasted Ethan gently, making everyone laugh. My best friend just told embarrassing stories from college. We danced. First dance, parent dances, party dances. I danced with Tom during the father-daughter dance. He whispered, "Thank you for letting me be part of this. You're the daughter I always wanted." I danced with Uncle Mike next. He said, "Your old man missed out on the best person I know. His loss." During the reception, my mom mentioned that my father had left. Apparently, he'd stood outside the tent for 30 minutes after our conversation, just watching through the windows. Then he'd gotten into his car and driven away. Several relatives who knew the situation approached me throughout the night, telling me I'd handled it with grace, telling me they were proud of me, telling me my father was a fool. One cousin said, "Madison's wedding was expensive, but joyless. This wedding is filled with love. You won the lottery when it comes to in-laws, and your mom is incredible. Your father's loss." I appreciated their support, but more than that, I appreciated that my wedding day was exactly what I wanted. Despite my father's uninvited presence, despite the confrontation, despite everything, it was still the happiest day of my life. The next morning, Ethan and I left for our honeymoon in Hawaii. A week of beaches, relaxation, and celebration. Away from family drama. Away from the emotional weight of the past. While we were gone, my father apparently tried to contact me multiple times. He sent emails I didn't read. He called numbers I'd blocked. He even sent flowers to my mom's house with a note apologizing. Mom refused to accept them. She called me in Hawaii to tell me about his attempts. "He's spiraling," she said. "He keeps saying he realizes what he's lost, that he wants to make amends." I asked how she felt about it. "Honestly, I think it's too little, too late. He had 26 years to be your father.
He chose not to be.
Now he has to live with that choice." I agreed. When we returned from Hawaii, the attempts continued. My father reached out to Ethan's parents, asking them to arrange a meeting. They politely told him no. He contacted Uncle Mike, begging him to intercede. Mike told him to respect my wishes and leave me alone. He showed up at my mom's house. She told him to leave or she'd call the police. Finally, I sent him one email. Clear and direct. "Stop contacting me and the people I love. I've moved on. You need to do the same. You are not welcome in my life. This is final." After that, the attempt stopped. I heard through relatives that he'd fallen into a depression, that his marriage to Diane was strained, that Madison and Chloe were upset with him for ruining their family reputation with his behavior. I felt bad for about 5 minutes. Then I remembered that I'd spent most of my life feeling bad about not being enough for him. I was done taking on his emotional burdens. Life moved forward. Ethan and I settled into married life. We bought a small house. We adopted a dog. We built routines and traditions. Carol and Tom became more than in-laws. They became true family. They invited me to all family events, included me in holiday planning, checked in regularly. Tom and I developed our own relationship. We'd meet for coffee every few weeks, talking about work and life. He told me once, "Walking you down that aisle was one of the proudest moments of my life. Thank you for giving me that honor." I told him, You earned it. You showed up for me when my own father wouldn't. That means everything. My relationship with my mom grew even stronger. We'd always been close, but marriage gave us a new dynamic. She became my confidant, my advisor, my friend. Uncle Mike remained a constant presence. Sunday dinners, holiday celebrations, random weekday lunches. He'd always been there, and he continued to be. 6 months after the wedding, I got an unexpected message. From Chloe, my stepsister. We hadn't spoken since before the wedding. She asked if we could meet for coffee. I was suspicious but agreed. Curiosity won out. We met at a neutral location. Chloe looked nervous. Thanks for meeting me. I wasn't sure you would. I asked what she wanted. She took a breath. I wanted to apologize. For everything. For how my mom treated you. For how we treated you. For not standing up for you when you were being excluded and overlooked. I hadn't expected that. She continued. Madison and I have been talking. About how our mom manipulated your dad. About how wrong it was. About how badly you were treated. She looked genuinely remorseful. I was a kid for a lot of it, so I didn't fully understand. But as an adult looking back, it was cruel. And I'm sorry I was part of it. I appreciated Chloe's apology, but I was cautious. What brought this on? She sighed. Your wedding. The way your dad showed up and watched from the shadows. It was pathetic. And it made Madison and me realize how badly he'd treated you. How he'd chosen us over his actual daughter. She continued. Then he fell apart after. Mom had to drag him to therapy. He's been talking about nothing but regrets. About how he failed you. And it's created this tension in our house where Madison and I are seeing our mom differently too. I asked what she meant. Mom pushed him to prioritize us over you.
We see that now.
She wanted him to cut ties with his past, which meant cutting ties with you. And he let her. He chose her manipulation over his daughter. Chloe looked at me seriously. I'm not asking for a relationship with you. I know I don't deserve one. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what was done to you. And I'm sorry. I told her I appreciated her saying that. But you're right. We don't have a relationship. And I don't think we need one. We're not sisters. We never really were. She nodded, accepting that. For what it's worth, I'm glad you found happiness. Your wedding looked beautiful, and your husband seems great. I thanked her, and we parted ways. It gave me closure I didn't know I needed. Hearing from someone on the other side that what I experienced was real, was wrong, was damaging. It validated everything I'd felt for years. A month after that, Madison reached out. She sent a long email apologizing for her part in the family dynamics. She acknowledged the disparity in how I was treated versus how she and Chloe were treated. She said, "You deserved better. I'm sorry we took advantage of your dad's misplaced priorities." I read the email, but didn't respond. I appreciated the apology, but I didn't need a relationship with Madison either. A year after my wedding, my father sent me a letter. An actual handwritten letter sent to my mom's house.
She called me.
Another letter from Richard. Do you want me to send it or trash it? I thought about it. Send it. I'm curious. The letter arrived 2 days later. I opened it carefully, Ethan by my side for support. It was 3 pages long, handwritten in my father's messy script. He apologized. Extensively. For everything. For prioritizing Diane's daughters over me. For missing my childhood. For refusing to walk me down the aisle. For showing up uninvited to my wedding. For years of neglect and favoritism. He acknowledged specific incidents I'd mentioned in our confrontation. The art classes he wouldn't pay for. The car he wouldn't help me buy. The college expenses he refused to contribute to. He called himself a coward who'd let his second wife dictate his relationship with his daughter. He wrote, "I convinced myself that you were fine. That you had your mother. That I could focus on building my new family without guilt. But the truth is I was selfish. I chose the easier path. I chose the family that didn't challenge me, that didn't remind me of my failures, that let me pretend I was a good father, because I showed up for them." He continued, "Watching you get married, Watching other men walk you down the aisle, watching you look at me with nothing but pity and anger, it broke something in me. I realized I'd lost my daughter. Really, truly lost her. And it was entirely my fault. The letter ended with, "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. I see what I lost. And I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I hope you have a beautiful marriage and a beautiful life. I'm sorry I won't be part of it. But I'm glad you found people who will love you the way you deserve to be loved all along." I sat with the letter for a long time. Ethan asked how I felt. "I don't know," I admitted. "Part of me is glad he gets it. But part of me is angry that it took this long." I showed the letter to my mom. She read it carefully, her expression neutral. When she finished, she said, "He's finally taking responsibility. That's something." I asked if she thought I should respond. She shook her head. "Only if you want to. You don't owe him anything, Harper. Not forgiveness. Not reconciliation. Not even acknowledgement." I decided not to respond. The letter was for him, not for me. He needed to say those things to assuage his guilt. I didn't need to absolve him. Life continued. Ethan got promoted at work. I got a new client that significantly increased my income. We talked about starting a family in a few years. We traveled, made memories, built our life together. Carol and Tom became grandma and grandpa in anticipation of future grandchildren. They joked about it, but I knew they meant it. They'd be the grandparents my children would know and love. My father? He'd be a stranger. Someone from my past I occasionally thought about but didn't miss. 2 years after my wedding, I ran into Diane at a grocery store.
Completely by chance.
We locked eyes across the produce section. She looked older, tired. She approached me cautiously. "Harper." I said her name back, neutral. "Diane." She seemed nervous. "How are you?" I told her I was good.
Married. Happy.
Building a life. She nodded. I heard. I'm glad you're happy." There was an awkward silence. Then she said, "I owe you an apology." I waited. She continued, "I didn't treat you fairly. I encouraged Richard to prioritize my daughters. I convinced myself it was necessary, that blending our family meant putting my kids first. But I was wrong. You were a child. You deserved better." I appreciated her saying it, but I also knew it changed nothing. "Thank you for apologizing. But it doesn't undo the past." She nodded. "I know. I just wanted you to know that I regret it. That I see now how harmful my behavior was." I told Diane I needed to finish shopping. She nodded and walked away. I watched her go, feeling nothing. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Just nothing. That evening, I told Ethan about the encounter. He asked how I felt. "Indifferent," I said. She apologized, which is nice. But it doesn't change anything. The damage is done. I've moved on. He hugged me. "I'm proud of how you've handled all of this. You could have become bitter. Instead, you built something beautiful."
He was right.
I could have let my father's rejection poison me. Instead, I'd chosen differently. I'd built relationships with people who valued me. I'd created a family of choice. I'd married someone who loved me unconditionally. Around this time, my mom started dating someone. A kind man named Robert she'd met through work. I was thrilled for her. She deserved happiness after years of struggling alone. Robert was everything my father wasn't. Attentive, present, interested in her life and mine. He treated her like she was precious. They got engaged after a year of dating. At their engagement party, Robert pulled me aside. "I want you to know something. I'm honored to be joining your family. Your mother is an incredible woman, and you're an incredible daughter. I hope we can build a relationship." I told him I'd like that. And I meant it. My life was full. My chosen family was strong. And I'd learned that blood doesn't make you family. Love does. Showing up does. Being present does. My father had blood, but nothing else. Tom, Carol, Uncle Mike, Robert, they had love. They showed up. They were present. They were my real family. 3 years after my wedding, Ethan and I found out I was pregnant. We were overjoyed. We told our families immediately. Carol cried. Tom got emotional. My mom was thrilled. Uncle Mike started planning to be the fun great uncle. Robert congratulated us and offered to help with anything we needed. The support was overwhelming and beautiful. I thought briefly about telling my father, but I decided against it. He'd lost the right to know about major life events. This baby would know Carol and Tom as grandparents, my mom and Robert as grandparents, Uncle Mike as great uncle. My father? He wouldn't exist in this child's life. During my pregnancy, I heard through relatives that my father's marriage to Diane was falling apart. Apparently, his depression after my wedding had never fully lifted. He'd become withdrawn. The perfect family he'd chosen over me was crumbling. Part of me felt vindicated, but mostly I felt sad. Sad that he'd wasted so much time on the wrong priorities. Sad that he'd sacrificed his relationship with me for a marriage that was failing anyway. Sad that he'd never meet his grandchild. But not sad enough to reach out. My daughter, Lily, was born on a sunny morning in May. She was perfect. 7 pounds, healthy, with a full head of dark hair. Carol and Tom were at the hospital within hours. My mom was in the delivery room with Ethan and me. Uncle Mike came that evening, bringing flowers and tears. The hospital room was full of love. Full of family. My real family. Tom held Lily carefully, tears streaming down his face. My granddaughter, he whispered. Carol took photos, already planning Lily's nursery at their house. My mom held her first grandchild with such tenderness I cried. Uncle Mike declared himself Lily's protector and favorite relative. The love in that room was everything I'd ever wanted. And my father wasn't part of it. When Lily was 3 months old, my father sent a gift to my mom's house. A handmade baby blanket with a note. For my granddaughter. I know I don't have the right to be in her life, but I wanted her to have something from me. Congratulations on your daughter. I'm sure you're an amazing mother. My mom called to ask what I wanted to do with it. I thought about it. Donate it. I don't want anything from him in my daughter's life. She did exactly that. I didn't feel guilty. I felt protective. This child would grow up surrounded by love, support, and presence. She wouldn't know the pain of being second best. She wouldn't experience the rejection I'd experienced. She would be chosen every day by the people who mattered. As Lily grew, she became the center of our world. Carol and Tom were incredible grandparents. They babysat, came to every doctor's appointment they could, celebrated every milestone. My mom was hands-on, teaching Lily songs and reading her stories. Robert built her a beautiful bookshelf for her nursery. Uncle Mike bought entirely too many toys and refused to apologize for spoiling her. Ethan and I watched our daughter grow surrounded by love. And not once did I regret keeping my father out of her life. He'd made his choices. Now I was making mine. When Lily was 6 months old, I received a Facebook message from Madison. It had been years since we'd spoken. The message said, Harper, I don't expect you to respond. But I wanted you to know that Dad's in the hospital. He had a heart attack. It was serious. He's stable now, but the doctors say his heart is weak. Mom wanted me to tell you. I stared at the message for a long time. Ethan looked over my shoulder. What do you want to do? I thought about it. About the man who'd refused to walk me down the aisle. Who'd chosen his stepdaughters over me repeatedly. Who'd missed my entire life. And I felt nothing. Nothing, I said aloud. I don't want to do anything. Ethan asked if I was sure. I'm sure. He's had 3 years since my wedding to try to build a relationship with me. He sent 1 letter and a baby blanket. That's not trying. That's guilt management. I don't owe him a hospital visit. I didn't respond to Madison's message. I didn't call. I didn't visit. I just continued living my life. A week later, Madison messaged again. He's asking for you. He wants to see you before, in case something happens. Please consider it. I showed Ethan. He said, it's entirely your decision. I'll support whatever you choose. I thought about it for days. Part of me felt like I should go. like it was the right thing to do. But another part, the part that had been rejected, overlooked, and dismissed for 26 years, said no. Finally, I responded to Madison. I hope he recovers. But I won't be visiting. He made his choices when he was healthy. Those choices don't disappear because he's sick. I wish him well, but I've moved on.
She didn't respond.
I heard through relatives that my father did recover from the heart attack. That he'd been devastated I didn't visit. That he'd cried in the hospital, telling anyone who'd listen about how he'd lost his daughter. I felt a twinge of something. Not quite guilt. Maybe sadness that it had come to this. But not enough to change my mind. Lily's first birthday was a celebration. We threw a party at our house with close family and friends. Carol made a beautiful cake. Tom set up decorations.
My mom organized games.
Uncle Mike was in charge of music and made everyone laugh. Ethan and I watched our daughter smash cake, open presents, and laugh with pure joy, surrounded by people who loved her unconditionally. Later that night, after guests left and Lily was asleep, Ethan and I sat on the couch. Today was perfect, I said. He agreed. Your dad doesn't know what he's missing. I thought about that. He made his choice. He chose Diane and her daughters. He chose status and his new family's approval over his actual daughter. And now he's living with those consequences. Ethan squeezed my hand. And you're thriving. With people who actually deserve you. He was right. My life was full. Rich with love and meaningful relationships. My father's absence was his loss, not mine. Around this time, I heard that my father and Diane had officially divorced. The heart attack had apparently been the final straw in their already strained marriage. He'd moved into a small apartment. He was alone. Part of me felt bad. But I remembered all the times I'd been alone, needing him, and he'd been too busy with his other family. He was getting a taste of what he'd put me through. A few months after his divorce, he sent me another letter. This one was shorter. Harper, I heard about Lily's first birthday through relatives. I'm sure it was beautiful. I wish I could have been there. I know I don't have that right. I've lost you, and that's my fault. But I want you to know I'm trying to be better. I'm in therapy. I'm working through my mistakes. Not because I think I can fix us, but because I need to understand how I let things get this bad. I'm not asking for anything. Just wanted you to know I'm still here if you ever want to talk. I showed the letter to my mom. She read it and said, he's trying. That counts for something. But I shook my head. He's trying now. After it's too late. After I've built a whole life without him. Where was this effort when I was 8? Or 16? Or 26 and begging him to walk me down the aisle? She nodded. You're right. You don't owe him anything. I put the letter in a drawer and forgot about it. 2 years passed. Lily grew into a talkative, joyful toddler. Ethan got another promotion. I expanded my freelance business. Our life was good, stable, full of love. Carol and Tom were constants in Lily's life. She called them Nana and Papa and ran to them with pure joy every time she saw them. My mom and Robert got married in a small ceremony. Lily was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously. Robert officially became Grandpa Robert, and he embraced the role fully. Uncle Mike remained Lily's favorite person. He taught her to love music, taking her to children's concerts and singing silly songs with her. This was Lily's family. The people who showed up, who loved her, who made time for her. My father remained absent, by choice and by consequence. When Lily was 3, she started asking questions. Mama, why do I have Nana and Papa and Grandma and Grandpa Robert, but no other grandpas? I'd known this question would come eventually. Ethan and I had discussed how to handle it. I knelt down to her level. Some families look different, sweetie. You have so many people who love you. That's what matters. She accepted that answer easily. 3-year-olds are wonderfully uncomplicated. But I knew more questions would come as she grew older. And I'd have to decide how to explain her biological grandfather's absence. One evening, Ethan and I talked about it after Lily was asleep. What will you tell her when she's older? When she asks directly about your father? I'd thought about this a lot. The truth. Age-appropriate but honest. That I had a father who made different choices, who wasn't present in my life, and that we've built a family with people who choose to be present. Ethan nodded. That's good. She deserves honesty. I agreed. I wouldn't lie to protect my father's image, but I also wouldn't poison Lily against him. I'd just tell her facts and let her draw her own conclusions. When Lily turned 4, something unexpected happened. Carol got diagnosed with cancer. Aggressive. Stage 4. The prognosis wasn't good. It devastated all of us. Tom was shattered. Ethan was beside himself. And I felt like I was losing the mother figure who'd been everything my father's wives weren't. We rallied around Carol, driving her to treatments, helping Tom maintain the house, spending as much time with her as possible. Lily, sweet Lily, would cuddle with Carol and tell her stories to make her feel better. Carol fought hard, but 6 months after diagnosis, she passed away, peacefully, surrounded by family. The funeral was one of the hardest days of my life. This woman had embraced me, loved me, celebrated me. She'd walked beside me through wedding planning. She'd been there when Lily was born. She'd been my bonus mom. At the funeral, I gave a eulogy. Carol taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about showing up, about choosing someone every single day, about loving without conditions.
She chose me,
and I will be forever grateful. Tom hugged me afterward, both of us crying. She loved you like a daughter. From the moment Ethan brought you home, she loved you. Over the following months, we supported Tom through his grief. He came over for Sunday dinners. He took walks with Lily. He found purpose in being Papa. One evening, he said something that struck me. You know what Carol told me before she died? She said, I'm so glad Harper came into our lives. She made our family bigger and better. That was important to her. That you knew you belonged. I cried. Because I had belonged. With them. With this family I'd married into. With people who'd chosen me. My father had never made me feel that way. But the Brennans had. From day one. Today I'm 32 years old. 6 years have passed since my father refused to walk me down the aisle. 6 years since he watched someone else do it. 6 years since he realized too late what he'd lost.
I haven't spoken to him in all that time.
He still sends occasional letters. Birthday cards for Lily that I donate. Holiday cards that I throw away. He's tried in his limited way. But it's not enough. And it's too late. Lily is now 5. She's smart, funny, and surrounded by love. She knows she's cherished by everyone in her life. She doesn't know about the grandfather who chose not to be present. Maybe one day I'll tell her, when she's old enough to understand. But for now, she knows the family that matters. Ethan and I had another baby, a son named Oliver. He's 2 months old. Tom held him in the hospital and cried. Another grandchild. Carol would be so happy. My mom and Robert dote on both kids. Uncle Mike has declared himself the favorite uncle and buys far too many presents. Our family is complete. Not because of blood, but because of love. Because of people who show up, who choose us,
Who stay.
Last week, I received a letter from my father. He's 60 now, getting older. The letter said, Harper, I know you probably won't read this, but I need to say it anyway. I'm proud of you. Of the woman you've become, of the mother you are, of the life you've built. I didn't contribute to any of it. I know that. But I'm still proud. You did all of this despite me, not because of me. And that makes your success even more impressive. I won't ask to meet my grandchildren. I know I don't deserve that. But I wanted you to know they exist in my heart, even if I don't exist in theirs. I hope they grow up happy. I hope they never know what it's like to feel unwanted by a parent. I hope you give them everything I failed to give you. I love you. I always have. I just never showed it well. And now it's too late.
I'm sorry.
Forever sorry. I read the letter once and put it away. Ethan asked if I felt anything. Closure, I said. This is it. This is the end of that chapter. He's finally accepting that it's over. that there's no redemption arc, that some mistakes can't be fixed, and I'm okay with that, because my life is full without him. My children will grow up knowing their Nana Carol in stories, their Papa Tom, their Grandma and Grandpa Robert, Uncle Mike. They'll know the meaning of chosen family, of unconditional love, of people who show up. My father refused to walk me down the aisle. He watched someone else do it, in a wedding he paid nothing for. But what he didn't realize is that his absence taught me the most valuable lesson. You can't disappoint me if I stop expecting anything from you. And when you build your own family, you get to decide who's in it. He chose to be absent. So I chose to move forward without him. And I've never looked back. My wedding day was perfect. Not because he eventually showed up and realized his mistake, but because I was surrounded by people who'd earned their place there. Tom walked me down the aisle with pride. Uncle Mike stood beside me with love. My mom cried tears of joy. Ethan waited for me at the altar. That's the family I chose. And they chose me. That's what my father never understood. Love isn't about biology. It's about showing up. And he simply stopped showing up. So other people did. Better people. People who deserved to be part of my story. My wedding wasn't diminished by his absence. It was strengthened by the presence of people who actually loved me. That's the truth.
And that's my story.
If this story touched you, or made you think about the power of chosen family, please hit that subscribe button. I share more stories about overcoming family struggles, finding strength, and building the life you deserve. Thank you for being here and for listening to my journey.